Everyone, and welcome to yet another episode of AI Climbing with Sheikh. As we together explore and navigate the world of AI, it's very important to not just focus on code, but also on the mind and logic, how the industry is evolving and how the different approaches is enabling the large scale adoption of AI. As most of you must have seen my last video where I was sharing about the approaches taken by DeepSeek and why it will work and why it will not work. I hope you have seen it. If not, please go to my playlist and I will put the link in the comments again. Have a look, but it's very important to not take DeepSeek or similar models coming as a with a geo and competition, but more like the logic and algorithmic way, right? Because that pretty much is the direction, because we are seeing lot of AI innovation and new approaches, new algorithmic ways to solve the problems, and this is just gonna scale as we will evolve. So, with this, let us try to deep dive on to understand some of the new approaches and how we can build a more efficient small language models. And then you really need to see the world started with LLM and the idea that the bigger the better. Still, that is pretty much the case. Like the idea is very simple, right? You have one meager job and you need two hands, but then you put 20. And then the question really comes in a resource constrained world, who can afford to do that, right? I hope you get the point, right? It's not about solving a problem, it's also about solving it right at the right price, cost, performance, and all of those aspects. So, with this background, let me try to give you the most accurate view as per me of the new approaches and how these things are scaling. So first of all, right, the open source and the SML is definitely an area where I am applying a lot of my forces and trying to see how our customers can deploy those at scale. And we really need to see that at the initial phase when we talk about LLM, and then we thought, all right, if we need to do it, then do a RAG. Again, it is an LLM because, as you all know, RAG is just about query your local database and then go to LLM to complete the query. But then the question came, these LLM are too big, and then they trimmed it, the classic ways called the model pruning or the distillation. Again, that distillation needs to be more intelligent, and that's, I hope you have seen my last video. That is absolutely the approach DeepSeek had taken. But look, when we talk about the world of SML, it is critically important to understand that the market is not like going, it's already the battle has won by open source. So there is no reason why in the SML any proprietary model will work or fly or scale. Yes, there can be vertical scenarios, but then that will not be the larger market scenario. And you really need to see how this thing started. So, the chain of thought again is something I will give a sort of demo. So, you really need to see that that's pretty much about the agentic AI and how you can build an agents who, instead of prompting, right, they can actually orchestrate a set of prompts with some logic, right? Like, for example, you make food, so there are some prereqs, then there is some food, then you serve. So it's not a matter of different prompts, but how A joins to B and B joins to C to complete the whole logic. But then there is a new approach which is more around the teacher-child model, teacher-student model to be precise. But look, Orca is just one example. Then we have the Red Hat's lab architecture. And the whole idea resonates that I will distill like make number of small models, but then they are not a autonomous or standalone thing, because as they will query their teacher model, they will not just understand the output but also the logic, the thinking process. So once that thinking process is shared, ultimately you come to a that point where the student model can act at its own, right? And that is again one of the key approaches DeepSeek put. Yes. And then where perhaps things are changing a bit is from the forest of thoughts, right? Like the whole idea is, right, instead of going in algorithmic and probabilistic way, the tree of thought branches the problem into many possibilities, evaluates, prunes, and do actions across each of them, and then take a top end approach to do the self correction. But the idea is really about, right, like instead of going through a sequential search, what you can do in different iterations and converge it in the way. And that is going forward with the large streaming data, edge devices, and all of those is gonna make things a bit change, which needs more algorithmic power, perhaps a bit of compute as well. But then we need to do it in an iterative way, right? Which I means it should not be more efficient algorithmic in an algorithmic one, like translate from omega n squared to omega n. And moving from here, you really need to see that how we can improve and enhance the ways on the top algorithms world, right? And this is pretty much the crux of what DeepSeek didn't do, and then we are seeing new approaches coming. Going from left to right, you can see the PRM, which is the process reward model. Again, process evaluates the correctness of each step. So it's not just about the output, but whether it was right, whether model should have done, even if the answer is correct, but if this thinking and steps maybe data is not trusted on, then we should factor in, right? And so it's more about going to a process reward versus just a static reward, right? And that is actually one of the key theme which I will be presenting today. And inference scaling, look, I hope you have seen after the Moore's law and Amdahl's law, the Jensen law from NVIDIA CEO, and showing that it's time for the inference time scaling. And the whole idea is, instead of enhancing and building models, you can scale and make models intelligent on the fly. But all this comes at the cost, and the cost is, instead of making one two queries, perhaps you need to do 20 200 queries. And the question is, should you do it, right? And I think DeepSeek really challenged it. And when I saw that, I had this view that perhaps that is not something which in enterprise and the global world will fly. But then here it is, like big boys are big boys, small boys are small boys. But what I really want to share here, right? Like the idea is small models, once they combine their power, they can do correct answer, right? And even near the LLM, but then lot of queries, right? And that is why it is red. No comments. And the problem, how we solve it, it's really about the right reward model, right? So number one, process based reward. So that defines the quantitative part of it. And DeepSeek reward model, if you have seen their reward mechanism and how they upper bound it to increase the context, right? Because that's what people say. Those people who try the model, they told that, look, it gives more intelligent order answers, is more complete, because they increase the like the context exponentially. I think Google Gemini is now doing 14K, perhaps more. Yeah, I think 14K. And then DeepSeek guys, they're saying they can actually like it's upper bound by the compute capacity, but then it is infinite in theory. And but they bound it. If you see the softmax, and they bound this, so ultimately, this is a sort of a problem that it is not capturing ground truth, and it can result in a sort of a reward hacking, right, where final output is optimized just to get better scores, right? It's like you cheat an exam just to get a better score without doing what is right and what is wrong, and that is actually why it is good just in maths and some coding task. But then if you ask write me a music and content, and it falls apart. So I hope you get it. When you bound something, first you're trying to make it infinite and bound it abruptly, you will basically clip that, and that clip me is an issue. And the last piece where we are going is more about changing the approach of reward altogether, which is use probabilistic inference approaches, use samples and not one input only, and then apply top end. So you know the concept of top end, right? You divide a task into different words and embeddings, and then score each, and then instead of focusing on all 100, you can take top 5 and rescore it to get a better outcome. And that is, I think, the direction where we are going. And I attached a GitHub repo done by Red Hat AI team. It's a good video that explains why probabilistic reward mechanism is actually better than the static one. And then lastly come to the results piece. So as you can see, if anyone believes SML DeepSeek is the only one, no, that's not correct. There are better results with other approaches. Like in this case, team has done on 5.4, which is from Microsoft, is a good, cool 14 billion model, and DeepSeek is 7, 8 billion. It's a big up, but then it has a better accuracy, right? And as you can see, it has a different bag of words and tokens and approaches to give a better accurate results. And then you can see the baseline in case of DeepSeek actually is not just base, also Llama, but then we tested benchmark with Llama, Granite, 5.4, and others. And reinforced learning, I think if it is applied in the right way and without clipping, then that is definitely the way. And the last piece is are some new approaches, right? Because we are trying to evaluate instead of a simple rejection sampling and SFT, which is more like pruning your tree, apply new approaches like DRSAO, which is the density ratio of strong over weak LLM. So this is a approach to reduce the like cost of manual labeling of data or the human annotation, and doing it in a pre-training way, right? And then again, there are number of work going on the world of supervised fine tuning for the small LLMs. And I hope, like, the idea is, because I took some like research notes, that um, it's all about strong prediction on the final model and its performance, right? And it's very important that supervised fine tuning without much need of human annotation. So that is definitely the direction. And the last piece, which I showed in the last slide, is around probabilistic inference and reward model, right? And scaling of LLM as a probabilistic inference problem really explains why it will scale and scale it well. And look, I just want to share here some of the benchmarking we did is with 5.4 and This is actually the good model which Amazon put on Hugging Face now, and it can supervise fine tuning models. So that's SFP thing which I was talking. It's all about supervise, fine tuning, but then do it without much need of the human annotation, right? And relies lot of synthetic data. We all know there is too much data, but good data is not that much. And then again, the DPO and GRPO is used, and pivotal token search. So you really need to see if you understand the world as a graph, and then instead of doing a sequential search, a pivotal search, a iterative search, a parallel search, that is pretty much, I think, what will make these SMLs. So, yeah, with this, I think I will conclude where the industry with SMLs is going, how the small models will help us to do the scale and make it work. And that's pretty much all. It was a big, complex session today. There's maybe too much to grasp. Maybe you need to read a lot of papers, but I hope you are enjoying the like the whole idea is to give you an update which is coming from a research mind applying to the real problem and a real world and industry, and how we can make it work together. If you see a value to join this movement, then don't forget to like, subscribe, and keep learning, keep growing, and welcome to the world of AI climbing with Sheikh. Thank you for joining me today. Have a great day.